I did it. I was successfully able to go live. I'm using different software and different shit, so I don't know if this is going to work as well as I hope it would. But, you know, hello. I'm live. Welcome to the new year. Thank you. Look at that. Your message now shows up on the screen, chat member. This is kind of a laid-back stream. I didn't feel like making a huge, big video like I did last year about the music that came out, because that was a pain in the ass, and it took like 3.5 hours to record. It's also very hot in here for some reason. I can't change the fucking temperature, so my face is like really red. And I'm extremely white, so it shows up very clearly. And, you know, I haven't been live in a while, so I'm a little bit like, oh my god, I'm nervous. But, you know, we'll push through and we'll persevere. Okay, so I have here a list of a bunch of shit that we're going to go through. This is the stuff that came out that I paid attention to, and I've quickly ranked it, basically. We can start with, I guess, remixes. All music sucks. I concur. It's all ranked 0. We needn't go further. So the first one, or the first 3, really, we can just reveal them all at the same time. It's fine. I tried to collect all the remixes of artists that I like. Other people remixed their stuff. And the only ones this year that came out were from Daniel Avery, which is an artist I really like. I have a pile here of some of the stuff on physical that I got. And I have the physical of this one here. This is now a section of remixes of other people, but the remixes were by artists that I like. So, the first one is Neutron 9000, which is a person I'd never heard of, but it was a song remixed by Daniel Avery. He did a bunch of remixes this year, and he normally doesn't. He said himself he's not really a remix guy. The next one might surprise someone in this chat. The Humanoid remix by Autecr. I was not terribly impressed with it when it came out. I thought it was kind of bland. They didn't add too much to the song that they were remixing. So low. And I agree. I'm kind of sad that I have to put it this low, but I was really disappointed with what they did to the song. But we can move on to the next one, which is another Daniel Avery remix. Winter Solstice by Liar, I assume it's pronounced. This is another song I'd never heard of the band that was being remixed, but it was a good remix. I thought it was better than Autecr, but really, unfortunately, to be fair, it wasn't that hard to be better than the Autecr remix. Yet another... these next 2 are actually remixes from people I'd never heard of, and they were Daniel Avery. The Amber Rush remix, actually, I want to say, is really good. That one is the first one here, I would say. This one I recommend you check out. It's a banger. I really hate that word, banger. But the next up is one of the other Humanoid remixes, the Mike Dread one. It was really long compared to the other remixes. It was just kind of an extended version of the original song. It was fine. I just thought it was better than these ones a little bit. You banned yourself from saying the word banger on your radio show. That is a good move. The boomers don't need to hear the word banger. And right after that is the other Humanoid remix. I refuse to say the actual title of the song. The Luke Vibert. I think that's how you say it. I've never actually said his name out loud before. I just realized. Vibert? Luke Vibert? Vibert? I don't know. It's probably Vibert. It's much more lush, and I think it changes the song the most out of all the remixes in the pack. And this is the last one. It's the best one on the release. Next up is the one that was mentioned by a chat member earlier. F Madge Pixie, I assume is how that's pronounced, by Gogo Penguin. It was very good. I was introduced to it this year, and it was very good. I like the remix. I didn't hear it too many times this year. I didn't have it on loop or anything like that. But I liked it. A little tiny bit better than that one is another Daniel Avery remix. Damn Daniel once again. Alien 3, another band I'd never heard of. This is a really good song. It goes very hard. I'm trying to think of other... I need to come up with a list of words to use instead of banger. It's an epic song. We could go back to the old days. It's a very epic song. I don't really have anything else to say other than that. First thing from Busy. He's not that busy because he hasn't done anything in like fucking 10,000 years. I think the last thing was like 2017. Next up, we have a familiar face. It's Daniel. No, it's not. It's the Autecr remix of Sophie, who tragically... Did you fall off a mountain or something? I don't remember. It was something weird. Mountains, what are you going to do? They're out to get you. Balcony? Oh, okay. Well, it was a balcony. Balconies, they're out to get you. What are you going to do? The Bip remix was really good. This one is very close to being my number 1. You could almost swap the number 1 and number 2 because they're so good. I also do have it. I can prove it that I'm a good fan. Sub required for that remix. That's true. I only really ever listen to it in my car. where I just have the fucking sub cranked to maximum. Yeah, let's use only sub bass for this song. Fuck it. The number one remix of the year, as according to me, is the Treat 'Em Right Borzicana remix. Holy shit. They actually did anything. This remix is really, really good. Once again, it completely changes the whole song. It might as well have not even been related to the original, except for the lyrics, which are almost entirely unchanged. These two remixes here, you could swap them. They're so good. I couldn't decide, and I was just like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm just going to leave it at this. But you could swap them around. They're both really, really good. So that's all the remixes I have for the year. Next up, I guess, is singles. I want to kind of rush through these because who cares? We can start with these ones. These ones don't even really count. They were the only songs uploaded... Oh, you can't even see them. There we go. They're the only songs uploaded to Aphex Twin's SoundCloud account, and there were ones that were previously put on his SoundCloud account, but he put them out this year, so I put them on the list. They're good. The Box Energy 4 Remix 1 is one of my favorite tracks from him ever, and it was because of his upload that I found it. Next up is kind of a big one, but it's in one thing. It's Sebastian. He does all the soundtracks for the St. Laurent fashion show. There's like fucking 20 of them, and they're all like 20 minutes long. A lot of them I don't really like, except for a couple of them that I put here. Women's Winter 17, Women's Spring 17, and then Men's Spring Summer 2021 are really good ones. This is a strange release of tracks. Yeah, I'm not surprised you haven't checked them out. They were kind of underground released, and if you want them on vinyl, they're $80 a piece. And they're only sold through the YSL website. They're not on the Ed Banger website. Now we get into like the real tracks. This is not my top 10 songs of the years. These are the top 10 singles, songs that weren't in an album, basically. Even though a couple of them are singles for an album. The worst one, I thought, was Kavinsky. We've been waiting a long time for him to return. His first album was not even that phenomenal. It's got a couple good tracks on it, and everyone seems to think it's amazing. And I was like, I don't know, it's not that great. But everyone was like praying for him to come back, and he finally did with a really, really mediocre song. You listen to it and you don't even remember it. Exactly. Next up is Jake Chudnell, Columbia, which was completely out of left field for me. Jake Chudnell, he used to do a lot of stuff back in the early 2000s, and then he kind of stopped. He's the guy who does all the music for the Vsauce videos, and you know, as a kid, I always loved Vsauce. I still do. It was pretty good. Compared to his other stuff, it was just kind of a little bit disappointing, but to be fair, I only listened to it like twice, and I kind of forgot about it. I might start listening to it more and more and try to get more of an opinion on it. Next up was a free song uploaded by Daniel Avery. It's a good track. It's a little bit, I guess, bland. It's kind of just an ambient track that's like, yeah, that was nice. That was atmospheric. That was cool. I think he said it was one that he used as an opener for a show a whole bunch of times. Next up is a split single for an upcoming album. Red Vox is a good band. It's a great band by Vinesauce Vinny, resident funny fart man on twitch.tv. He has a new album coming out. They wanted it to be out this year, but it had to be delayed a little bit. This year I didn't really listen to Red Vox all that much, so when the album announcement came out, I was excited, but I wasn't like, holy shit, new fucking album, I can't fucking believe it. Their last album, I think, is their best album, and I think it's going to be hard to top it. I have a feeling, based on these two tracks, and just in general, that this one's going to be not quite as good, but it will still be good because these tracks are pretty cool. Moving on to some songs that released like a week ago, which is why I hate all music publications that put their fucking best of year lists in like fucking November. Fuck all music that releases in December, I guess. I don't know. Now, because they just came out, I don't have in-depth knowledge on how to say about them, except that they're good, especially Ward, the second track on it. James Welsh is a very good musician. He does cool synthy music. Daniel Avery, Void. Damn Daniel, he's back at it again. He did a fuck ton of fucking music this year. Void was a short film that released earlier this year. And it's really good. It's like a 16-minute long song, and it doesn't feel like that. It's really ambient and really, really fucking minimal. It's called Void. You'd expect that. Until the middle, where it's very much not minimal. And that's all I'm going to say. Dan Daniel again. More stuff. This was a single that he released this year. I think there's a band called Two Lone Swordsmen or something like that. I haven't heard too much of their stuff, but they're cool. One of them died or something, and he was like, damn, that sucks, so he made a song about it. Can I do a stream killing people with a rock? Yeah. No, can I? Yes. Will I? I mean, I'll write that one down in the ideas book. Killing people with a rock. That might get me some views. I could hit the front page. This one's kind of surprising to me My favorite song that wasn't part of an album this year was from Digitalism. It was like a month or two ago, called Illusion. And I have a very mixed relationship with Digitalism. Their music is simultaneously very unique and very fucking generic and bland at the exact same time. I don't know how they do it. Their unique style of music sounds bland and generic. But this song was surprisingly good, which sounds mean, but it's not, because I like them. I'm a fan of their music. Now we're on like the main event, basically, with the albums and the EPs, which are kind of whatever. It's the things that actually matter. Pilot Red Sky. In addition to a bunch of old tracks, there were a couple EPs that came out, and Medallion was the first one that came out, and it was fine. It wasn't too incredible. Next up is Lana Rain's Minecraft Caves and Cliffs update soundtrack, which was released as an EP. Actually, it's long enough that it's an album, technically. I have very mixed feelings about this. When I first heard that she was doing the Nether update music, I was like, oh god, anyone other than C418 is making music for Minecraft. I'm gonna commit arson. And then I heard the music and I was like, holy shit, this is really fucking good. The Caves and Cliffs music is the first music that was added to Minecraft that I don't like. There are some songs on here that I think are actually just like bad tracks. But then there are others that I think are actually really, really good. I think it's called Infinite Amethyst is a really good track. The one, it's called Ancestry, that's going to be in the next update in the Deep Dark when they add in the Warden and all that creepy shit. It's a really awesome, like, dark song. And then there's the new record, Other Side, that I think is like just a fun little track. Some of them play in the caves, and some of them also play on the mountains. And the problem is that the songs play in both places, which have very different atmospheres. It's very strange that they decided to do that. They should have made caves music and cliffs music. If you're in a cave, you want everything to be like echo and there's reverb. You might have like dripping sound. Like Infinite Amethyst has like water dripping sounds in it. You wouldn't get reverb in a mountain, right? You get an echo maybe. You have the same songs playing in two wildly different areas of the game. It tries to appeal to both places, and it just makes the tracks kind of weak because they weren't going far enough into the mountain aspect or too far into the cave thing. So they're just like stuck in the middle, and they're just kind of not great songs. Next up, kind of related, C418. Branching Out was kind of an underground release. He made the soundtrack to like, it's like a half game, half like simulator thing. Some company made like a virtual office space. It's a nice little EP. I'll admit this last year, same with Red Vox, I kind of just wasn't really into C418 this year. Maybe in the future I'll get back into C418 more and I'll be like, holy shit, this is great. Speaking of, here's Cookie Clicker. I played it way back in the day when it was a browser game. I didn't buy the re-release, but I did buy the EP because it was only a couple bucks on Bandcamp, and that one's also on Spotify. That's another one, same thing as the other, as Branching Out. I wasn't that into him this year, so it kind of passed me by. I listened to it a couple times. I was like, yeah, this is nice, and then I moved on. Next up is more, actually two of them, Pilot Red Sky, the other two EPs that he put out. Again, all his music is very kind of similar. It's not samey, but if you hear a track, you can instantaneously tell that it was made by him and no one else. I don't have much to say about them because they're hard to remember. Next up is an interesting one, Tipper Inselito. This was completely both expected and unexpected. He tends to release things every 2 years on odd number years, and so as soon as 2021 started, I'm like, we're going to get a fucking release this year. I knew it. Inselito is great. He's never made a bad release, I don't think. All of it's just, like, fantastic. And I think he just keeps getting better with every single release. His last album, Jettison Mine Hatch, is like just fucking great. Okay, now we're on to the main event. So the first thing I have here, you'll notice, is separated because this I thought was quite funny. While I was preparing for this earlier today, I was going through all the stuff that came out this year, and I was going through the albums that I'd saved on Spotify, and I completely fucking forgot that this album came out. It was a big build up for this album coming out. It came out. I was so excited for it, and I never fucking listened to it. I don't follow them anywhere, so I didn't keep getting info about it to be reminded of it. I just knew it came out, saved it, and then fucking forgot about it. So it came out. It's probably good. I don't know. I've never heard a single second of it. The worst album that I paid attention to this year, I thought, was from Boys Noise, and it was this album, Polarity, is how it's pronounced, +/-, but it's pronounced Polarity. I thought this album was hot garbage. That's a good choice to skip it there. He has been on a downward spiral of weird shit. He did sell it as an NFT. He's done a fuck ton of NFTs. Not nearly as many as Mr. Wazo, but he's done a lot of fucking NFTs too. which is, we'll keep that out of the music discussion. We'll ignore that. His music is just, for me, it's just been downhill for a long time. It got stale, and then he tried to change, and the changes he's making are just like bad decisions. The first song, called Close, I'm not sure, I think is actually really fucking good. The first track of this album, I think, is sick as fuck. And then every other track is just so fucking bad. It's like the worst fucking music I've ever heard from him ever. I could go on and on about how I don't like this album. The lyrics on these are just breathtakingly awful. Like the song IU with Corbin, it's like embarrassing. He's got the guy on there going like, and that's the lyrics. It's like, what the fuck am I listening to? And then like the next song, Express Yourself, it's like the most distorted whisper. He's like, express yourself. You're listening to, yeah. Isn't it just the most cringy thing you've ever heard? What the hell is this? Exactly. And then the song Nude. He's like, I wish I were nude. And then, what the fuck is that? I'm like pissed off at this album. It's so bafflingly awful. And we're going to move on from there to the next album. From Johns Hopkins Hospital, Children's Hospital. I can't believe they made music. Music for Psychedelic Therapy. This album requires context for why it's so low. There are a lot of artists and bands out there that have a lot of music, and I like one thing that they've done. Lone is an artist like that. They have one album, Levitate, that I fucking love that album so much. Everything else is like boring and bland, and I don't really like it. Johns Hopkins, the one album I like from him is Singularity. Everything else, I cannot enjoy. I can't get into it. It's not that impressive to me. And Music for Psychedelic Fuck Therapy. This one was not only very bland and boring to me, it almost felt like fucking pretentious. Deep in the glowing heart, love flows over us in prismatic waves, ascending dawn sky. And then the last song, Sit Around the Campfire, is ambience. It's ambient music. And then there's just like a sample of one of those weirdo self-help guys who talk about random shit off the top of their head, and they're just like, if you look deep into your soul, you can start to realize the different ways that we can experience other people's human emotions within each and every other person's interconnected experiences of the human condition, about each and every other person's personal perseverance, personal view on the world around us, and the world is all connected to the different ways that we can imagine our... It's like, what are you fucking talking about, dude? And it's that for like 8 minutes. I was kind of excited about this album releasing because Singularity is the one album I like from him, and it was their most recent one. And so I heard a new album was coming out, and I was like, oh, that'll be good. And then it wasn't. And I was like, this is fucking strange, and like, what the fuck? I don't know. And we're going to move on to the next album, Gas, Get a Star, by Undo K from Hot, which is the most clunky album and band name I've ever heard in my life. This is a side project by, I can't remember his name, one of the guys from Death Grips. Is it Zach Hill? It might be, okay, it's Zach Hill. I heard this album through like once or twice, and I wasn't terribly impressed by it. I'm not like a super fucking Death Grips fan. I like Death Grips, but I'm not insane into them like some people are. This album is very extreme. Sometimes I like the extreme stuff that Death Grips does. Most of the time, that's not the parts I like from Death Grips. I like when they're a little bit more melodic. The next album on my list is a very different kind of music. It's 1st of October, Gotta Record Everything Good. This is essentially a comedy album by YouTubers. Rob Scallon and Andrew Huang, I don't remember. They're a band for one day a year. On the 1st of October, they will write and record an entire album in one day, and they have nothing prepared beforehand. They'll do it all in a single day. The songs, obviously, because they're made in a day, aren't that amazing. They're just kind of funny, and some of them are pretty good. Some of them turn out okay. And yeah, mostly I like them because their content's funny and it's interesting about music. Gotta Record Everything Good. It was the third time they've done this. I thought this one was kind of their worst one. I was a little bit disappointed with this one. I thought last year was better. This one was more well-produced, but I wasn't terribly a fan of the actual songs in it. Mode Selector Extended was released this year. I heard about it at the end of last year, and I was like, that'll be cool, and it was kind of okay. It starts off kind of cool. And every so often there's a track that's like, this is kind of cool. And then a minute later it's completely different. And I'm like, well, it's gone now. There's 2 tracks in the middle. One of them's called Rainy and Hood, back to back. Those are like really sick. And then the rest of the album's like, it's okay. Sometimes it's cool. Next up is Richard Fearless, Future Rave Memory, the first album that I have from this year on vinyl. Richard Fearless I was introduced to because of Daniel Avery. He like retweeted the album announcement coming out this year. Oh, he made this album called Deep Rave Memory a couple years ago, and it was pretty cool, and now he's doing a sequel to it. And so I listened to both of them, and I was like, these are pretty okay. These are, well, they're cool. They're really, actually, they're really good. They're not the most amazing thing I've ever heard, but they're pretty cool. This is the first album on here that I would say is like, this is good, I would recommend this. Because it was like a deal, it was like, hey, get both of them right now, because they're like the same series of things. I got them both at the same time. It sounds like it has some amazing sound design. It does. It's very atmospheric and very cool stuff. They're both very similar. It's like you could just keep going, and it's like a 2-hour album, basically. You'll check both these out. That's a good call. They're pretty cool. Broken Beauty from the first album, I think, is like his best song. Moving on to Flying Lotus Yasuke. I'm not a huge Flying Lotus fan. I find some of his stuff very hard to get into. I respect it and I appreciate it, but it's not stuff that I want to listen to very much. You're a die fan and you skipped it. It's pretty good. There's a span of songs from Crust to Your Screams. Those 6 songs are sick, are really, really good. I don't know if it's a sample or a recreation, but there's like a Pink Floyd part in there that's really good. There's like a Blade Runner song in there. It's like really, really cool. And the album goes all over the place. It makes me want to listen to more Flying Lotus, so I might get into it more. Next up is an album that just released a couple days ago. It's not on Spotify, so don't try. It's called Head Full of Mollusks, and it's basically just a compilation of unreleased stuff from like the past 2 years. And it's all very ambient stuff, and some of this stuff is good, some of it's not good. Well, some of it's like okay. A couple of the tracks on here are really, really awesome, and then some of them are just like, yeah, it's okay. It just came out, so I don't have a whole lot to say about it. Next up, Gaspard Auger's Escapades is at number 6 out of 14 for best albums this year. I really was excited for it coming out, and it really disappointed me. It's okay, says chat member. I agree with you. It's so close to being good is how I want to describe it. The lows on this album are very, very low, and the highs are pretty high. The first 3 songs on this album are really good, in my opinion. Rock'n'Roll is my favorite on the album. Force Majeure is an amazing song. It's kind of funny, that track is very different from the rest of the album. You know how in a movie, it's very easy to tell when a scene is specifically made to be put in the trailer? Oh, here's a funny line, it's the only funny line in the movie, or a cliffhanger that's resolved instantaneously just so they could put the cliffhanger in the trailer. It's kind of like album clickbait, where it's like, holy shit, this song is awesome. And then the rest of the songs are way different and not that great. He knew he had an awesome song, and then he's like, shit, I need to fill up an album. So he just like shit out some other tracks that are not nearly as good. I think this album has a lot of really good ideas, and they're executed terribly. He uses some sounds that infuriate me. Like the choir is ear-piercing, and same with the violin. I fucking hate it. Hey, I fucking hate that song. I hate that song. That's easily my least favorite on the album, because the violin is just screeching through the whole thing. It was something that Gaspard needed to do. I hope it makes the next Justice album kind of different. Like, I'm glad the next Justice album won't sound like this. Yeah, like, he got it out of his system. He's like, man, I want to make an album that's like the 70s, and then he did that, and now the next one won't sound like this, because if it does, oh god. Daniel Avery, Together in Static. Yet another album from a guy that I really, really like, and I was disappointed by. This album was kind of not that great in my opinion. I was looking forward to it again, because at the beginning of the year, Daniel Avery was like, oh, I got so much fucking music for you guys. You guys are going to go crazy. I was like, oh my god, I'm excited. And then he put this out, and I was like, man, this is just not that great. Together in Static was, to be fair, not ever meant to be the next album. It was originally supposed to be a live show, and then the world ended, so he's like, fuck, what am I going to do with all this music? So he just put it into an album. The 2 singles, Hazel and Golden Endless Hours, were really good. It's got high highs and really low lows. The tracks I don't like, I think, just suck. They're just really boring. I still think he is one of the most important modern-day ambient techno artists. I completely agree with you, and his last album, Love Plus Light, is an exact perfect example of that. He likes to open his albums with a purely ambient song, and Crystal Eyes, the opening track of Together in Static, is boring as fuck. Song for Alpha, the first song, First Light, is like one of my favorite songs from ever. It's a 1.5 minutes long, and it's like the most beautiful ambient I've ever heard. London Island is a bit long, but it's very, very smoky. Crystal Eyes is just like a synth going up and down for like 5 minutes. I get it. I get it. It's ambient. Let's go. I was disappointed. It's the same thing with Escapades. I really was excited for it. I wanted to like it, and I was really disappointed by it. Moving on to the next album, Scientist, which is another alias for Ski Mask. This is a self-released demos and random tracks album that he released on his Bandcamp called Images Everything Part 3. He's got 3 of these albums, and they're really, really good. Oh, fuck, I keep forgetting. I'm trying to show off how cool I am with my record collection. Look, it's Escapades. Hey guys, look. It's Escapades. For some reason, they sent me 2 of them. I also have Together in Static. I pre-ordered it because I was like so fucking excited. I even got like, I'm not going to take it out, but I got the special edition red disc that was like only available on like one site. And I was like, I'm so excited for this album. And then it was like, oh, it's not that good. And now I have this. My number 3 is... That didn't work. Mide's Born a Loser, which is another one. Pre-ordered it. I was happy I pre-ordered it because this album is great. It's a fucking great album. Finally. This album is very, very good. It took me a little bit to get into it, to be honest with you. It was good when I first heard it, but I was a little bit like, it's okay. But then, my boy, this album is a good album. We don't have a single album common on our top 14 list so far. We might. There's 2 more. We might. I rarely have a house music get anywhere near my number 1, so it says something to have something like this be so high. I think it would be more common for me to have something like this closer to the top, but that is a good recommendation there. House is based. I agree. I like being inside a house. It's better than being outside. It's really cold outside right now. We Are the Light is an opener, though. I agree. I'm going to actually start talking about this album now. It's kind of very obviously designed to be an opening song for an album, and then it kind of doesn't stand on its own outside of the album, which you would hope that a song would. Let You Speak is a great track. That was one of the singles that came out. That was an awesome track. A lot of people who I knew listened to it were disappointed with it, and I was like, what are you talking about? This song is great. And the music video is hilarious for this song. Let You Speak, I recommend watching that. It's really funny. Together We Stand was like the big single for this album. Together We Stand is like, holy fuck, that's a good song. Yeah, that's a fun album. That's a really fun album. And then number 2, it's Squid, Bright Green Field. Look at all those random pieces of buildings that are in the shape of a man on a field. Bright Green Field is a cool album. It's very good. I was introduced to the band Squid because of the album announcement. And at first, I was like, what the fuck are they doing releasing a rock album? Or whatever you want to call it. It's got guitars, so it's rock. And then it came out, and I listened to it again, and I was like, now hold on a minute here. And then I kept listening to it, deciding if I liked it or not. And then I took a break, and I listened to it one more time, and I was like, this is fucking really great. Brit punk. That's exactly what it is. Narrator is your song of the year. Interesting. The screaming is interesting, but it's like, I don't want to listen to screaming. Like, you can't, like, play that for anyone else. Like, dude, check out this cool track. It's like, oh, wow, what a fucking weirdo. What kind of fucking sicko music do you love? My favorite from the album is Boy Racers. I love how it's a really solid song, and then the second half is just, like, the THX noise. I think it's just like a really cool track. Paddling is also really good. That one specifically, Paddling, I showed to other people. I was like, this is the one I feel the most comfortable sharing to other people. And they were like, this is really cool. And I was like, cool. You probably won't like the rest of the album. And my top album of the year, if you could guess, it's Super Mario Brothers 2, babe. No, it's not. It's Ski Mask Pool. It's a very good album. I bought this one on on CD, on very large CDs. This is a very, very, very fucking good album. I'm a very big fan of it. I had never heard of Ski Mask before. Someone was like, listen to this album. It just came out. And I was like, okay. And I was like, whoa, this is really fucking cool. And then I got into Ski Mask, and I was like, man, every single song he's ever made is amazing. Officially no common albums. Do you mean no albums in the same position, or none at all? None at all, really? Oh, wow, okay. People have different tastes, imagine. I didn't realize Pool was 90 minutes long till my third listen. Yeah, it does. It's a shame. It's funny, like, his first two albums, they're both around about an hour. And then this one is like an hour and 43 minutes. And they feel the same length. It's really funny. You should very much listen to Ski Mask Pool. Not just because it's my favorite, but because it's one worth listening to. It could go on one of those like albums you have to hear before you die. It's the only album I've ever heard that could be ranked with Cyro. Pool even has some better qualities. And so I completely agree. Interesting that they're both green. But yeah, Pool, by far, it's going to be on my top albums probably for the rest of my life. Like, it's fucking a phenomenal album. His first two albums, Shred and Compro, combined aren't even close to how good Pool is. I would say my favorite track from it is Harrison Ford. It starts at 10 and it just keeps going through the whole fucking thing, but every single song does that. It's hard to describe about this. You know, I'll have to go more in depth about it later because I want to talk about this album more. Ozone is your favorite. That's a very good pick. Ozone is very good. I think I like Rio Dub a little bit more. It's a really good balance between some tracks are really atmospheric and ambient, and then the next track will just be like fucking insane bang. It's like, holy shit, this is insane. Yeah, it's a phenomenal album. Good job, Ski Mask. I don't even know what his real name is, and I don't care. It's so good that if I hear one song or someone mentions it, I'm like, well, I know what I'm doing for the next hour and 45 minutes. Like, instantaneously, it's like, yeah, fuck, I've listened to it, like, maybe 20 times, probably more than that this year. Like, I just keep going back to it. And so with that, I think that is everything I have to say. All right, that was the stream. Thank you for joining it. I'm going to use my stream ending soon slide that I spent so long making before the stream ends. Goodbye.